Hi, and welcome to Playing with Possible. My name is David Landis, and this is where each week we elevate the conversation around possibility and the question, what might be possible, to one that is accessible and practical, so that we, as entrepreneurs, leaders, and individuals determined to live life more fully, can tap into the power of possibility and achieve our next level of success in both work and life. Because I believe the worst place any of us can be is stuck between hope and doubt, hoping to create more growth, fulfillment, and impact for good in the world, but secretly doubting it will be possible. Whenever uncertainty or change creates confusion, doubt, and fear that leaves us feeling stuck, or achievement leaves us feeling unfulfilled, it's not because we're somehow broken. There's nothing wrong with us. The problem, our current understanding and skills just don't match the challenge of the situation we're facing. It's simply that we don't yet understand our thinking, how it works, and how to work with it. And living the life you want isn't the result of what you do, but it is the result of how and what you think. You see, 5 key areas empower us to tap into the power of possibility, move beyond simply being stuck in reaction, and instead start responding to life. Awareness, understanding, skills, preparation, and practice. And when we learn how to tap into the power of possibility, the world opens up to us with a renewed hope in a sense of what might be possible. Possibility is personal. You are capable of more than you think you are. No one knows. No one can tell us the limits to what might be possible for any of us. The problem, we've simply misunderstood a lack of understanding and a lack of skills for a lack of possibility. And it's not our fault. We weren't taught how. But the good news is it's never too late to learn. The mission, help make the world a better place for all of us by empowering as many people as possible with the ability to tap into the power of possibility and overcome the suffering we experience when we feel stuck. And I am thrilled that you are here, and I think this is a good time to continue what seems to be a theme this month of January at the time of this recording, continuing our theme of vision and taking it a little bit farther. Playing with possible and the power of possibility is something that here in this conversation with us, we are learning to elevate the idea of possibility to one that is not just something that is empty and foolish and unimportant and something that can be disregarded and ignored, but instead elevate it to something that is essential to living life fully. I want to elevate possibility to something that is practical, realistic, and it's an essential understanding of living life successfully. And by successfully, I mean living life fully, living life with purpose and intention and a sense of fulfillment and a sense of enjoyment and enthusiasm and an ability to navigate the uncertainty that inevitably comes to all of us, that is inevitably part of all of our days. I get it. I am no different than you, but I am someone who has made it my life's work to study this and to work intensively at developing an understanding that is one that I can share with you and one that is something that that we can learn and we can begin to understand how to make possibility something that is accessible for everyday life and understand how it is an essential part of life. A major aspect of that we've been covering this month is the idea of vision. And vision is something that we imagine in our future, something that only we can see. The idea that Each of us is unique. Each of us has our own experience and perspective on life. And at the same time, this mystery of life, that's what it is about the idea of possibility. You throw around words like possibility. You throw around words like imagination and vision and hope. They're all so intangible that it's very easy, because it isn't a common conversation that we have. It isn't something that we're familiar with. It isn't something we're comfortable with, for lots of reasons. The first reason is, and it's this inside out, outside in understanding of life, that we each are having our own unique experience of this thing that we call life. And while we're doing that, we're watching other people have their experience of life, and the two don't seem to match. The way their world appears and the way we're feeling our world on the inside, there seems to be a disconnect. And so we don't talk about those kinds of things because it's uncomfortable. It's not something that some of us are able to communicate well. It's not something that we're familiar with, not something that we learn about, grow up with. And so then you start talking about imagination, and we talk about vision and hopes and dreams. These things become seen as impractical because I can't touch it. I can't feel it. I don't know what your vision is. I don't know what your dream is. I don't know how you're feeling. I can only go by what you tell me and how you appear. And so it's all this disconnect and discomfort that we have because of these intangibles that are somewhat challenging to talk about when we haven't had a conversation about it. And that's what I want for us here, is a place to have a conversation about possibility, a place to have a conversation about our unique experience of life. And we as creators create from our sense of vision, our sense of possibility. And the problem has been, because life can be so serious and because so much of the world around us doesn't understand this and is mired in conversations and effort at surviving and dealing with very serious things, and we don't have a skill set for dealing with this discomfort we experience with these intangibles like feelings, like possibility and hope and vision and imagination. That we disregard those things as foolish or less important or things that get in the way. I know for me, growing up in my family, imagination was not, and I can't be too hard on my family, it's not something that many people have respected or elevated or understood in a way that we have a conversation about it, that we incorporate it. Especially as business people, as leaders, with responsibilities that are so important, that we don't have a sense of possibility, because that sense of importance and pressure and intensity of life and responsibility can tend to shrink our world to those things that we can hold on to, that we can grab. And when it comes to things that are intangible, that we can't hold on to, that we can't grab a hold of, that we don't have a common language for, that we don't have a common comfort with, we push those things aside as unimportant. And at the same time, that pressure and intensity that we're feeling from the demands going on around us, it tends to narrow our vision and narrow our focus and narrow our understanding of, or narrow our perspective, our perception of creative ideas and solutions that we as leaders and business owners and people that are creating things in the world that we need. We need access to a larger, more expansive perspective. As a firefighter, I think about among firefighters, it's the moth to the flame. The problem that's right in front of you is what you focus on. But that can be a very dangerous thing in a dangerous environment for someone to do. We need as large a perception of situational awareness, as large a perception of the environment around us as possible. not just for our own safety, but for access to creative ideas, access to solutions as we solve a very serious and intense problem. So it's this dance between intensity and seriousness and possibility and imagination, that concepts and ideas and things that we perceive as less tangible, less practical, become disregarded as unimportant and impractical. And it is so wrong, and so it robs us of an access in a situation. Narrowed vision robs us of access to creative solutions that are present. Our awareness just isn't large enough to perceive them and then incorporate those potentials into the solution that we're looking for. And then when you expand that to outside of one immediate situation or an immediate concern in front of us, and you expand that to life, we have been white-knuckling our way through life. We have been so serious, so practical, so unrelentingly driven in our seriousness and our practicality and our solution-oriented thinking, that it has only driven us more deeply into isolation and frustration and emptiness and aloneness. And instead of being situationally aware of possibilities in our lives just instead get smaller and more focused and more intense, until we feel, whenever we raise our head up and take a breath, we feel a sense of overwhelm and confusion and aloneness and frustration that isn't necessary. If we could expand, even in those serious moments, expand our perspective, expand our sense of what might be possible. Possibility is choice. Possibility is options. Possibility is creative. And the idea of creative, being an artist and growing up in a world that saw creativity as, again, impractical, unimportant, can be relegated to later, instead of seeing it as an essential part of living in this world that is rapidly changing, rapidly developing, rapidly bringing more challenge into our lives just by its speed, that I want as large a perception as possible, as large of a perspective as possible. When my words don't want to come out, I want to perceive as many choices and options as possible based on the things that are important to me. And then I want access to the creative process that I use as an artist, but can apply to my relationships, to my business, to my friendships, to the world around me and the problems that we see. I want access to creativity. I want access to as large a perspective as possible. I want access to possibility. And I am determined, through playing with possible and through the use of the power of possibility, I'm determined to elevate this conversation, even when my words don't want to come out correctly, even as I work my way to develop this conversation with you. And again, I look forward to your feedback and to your input and to your conversation and for this to expand. But possibility is something that is practical. Possibility is something that is a necessity. If we are going to live a life of fullness, if we are going to achieve our next level of success in work and life, if we are going to accomplish the things we want to accomplish and live a life of purpose, fulfillment, full of all of the things that we want, we must access possibility. We must understand and learn how to play with possible. It's a skill that can be learned. It's an understanding and a perspective that can be developed. And I'm here to help with that. And I look forward to it. And I love this conversation. I want to develop and continue this idea of vision. Vision is where we see ourselves going. It gives us an intangible, impractical, quote unquote. It gives us something that no one else can see. It's what your perspective is on what is coming ahead that isn't yet, what is not yet, what could be, what may be, and the direction that we're working toward and where it is that we're leading to. It's also something, as we become more clear on our vision of where it is we're going, we can begin to communicate with our team. We can begin to communicate with those in our families, those that are important to us, where it is, those that we lead, where it is that we're leading to. So a vision is the idea of, again, we're talking about turning these intangibles into practicals. And one of the beginnings of that conversation is understanding that there is a perspective that you have that is important, that you can't show me until it's produced. You can only communicate it to me. But you're only able to communicate your vision as well as you are able to see it yourself. And that comes through a process of developing and allowing it to reveal itself. But the first thing is to respect the importance of vision and the role that it plays. And as we begin to accept the idea that vision is practical, vision is important, vision is intangible, and it is unique to you. And even though we have disregarded these things, we are now beginning to, as people of possibility, we're elevating these things so that we can pursue the things that are important to us. We can create the impact that is important to us. We can express ourselves in ways that only we can do. Create and build the things that are ours to build. That we can access the possibility of our lives, that we can live with a sense of purpose and fulfillment and richness when we understand this process of playing with possible and tapping into the power of possibility. It begins with vision, and it begins with you understanding and valuing your vision and beginning to the process of understanding this idea and the process of elevating its importance to yourself, because no amount of talking on my part is going to change your understanding of your vision. You need to spend time with it when you see it as important and you develop it. And I can continue to help, and as we work together and talk about this, we can talk about the details, but the first thing I want us to get right now is just the importance. Understanding the fact that it has been relegated by many of us as something extra, something less than important, a disposable, and I'm not thinking of the right word. It gets frustrating when that happens. Discretionary, but I think it's essential. So again, we've relegated this to something that children do, that impractical, silly people do, and we haven't honored the fact that we live by vision, and the vision is something that carries us forward. And especially you as a leader, you as someone who has something important to do, that wants to live, that is determined to live with fulfillment, will pursue your vision when you elevate it and you begin to spend time with it and you begin to take it seriously. This idea of so many people are seeking their sense of purpose. And not only does vision help us lead other people and lead to solutions that are important and necessary in our world right this moment in front of us, the very real challenges and problems. Vision is an essential part of our own sense of purpose. Purpose isn't something that we find somewhere out in the world. Purpose is something we discover and explore and experiment and create within ourselves, that we determine for ourselves. We're looking for control around us. We're looking for control out somewhere in the world, when in actuality, The control is ours, and it exists now. We just have been misled, misunderstood our humanness and our human experience. We've disregarded our spiritual side. We've disregarded or diminished or not correctly or not clearly understood the importance of this intangible spiritual sense of where does inspiration and vision come from? Where do these ideas and thoughts, inspiration, an experience of a thought or an idea that may be clear or more or less clear that begins to form and shape itself into a vision of what it is that we're paying attention to? Is it a vision for ourselves, for a solution, for our families, for the things that we want to create and build? But ultimately, it is your experience of your life and how you would see the world around you being shaped by your presence in it and where you're leading to, and by your respect for your own vision that we're beginning to elevate in this conversation and respect. So what's the process? How do we deal with this? How do we access this? And again, it begins with respecting it, understanding it, realizing its importance, and then to maybe do something counterintuitive depending on how you are in your day. But a wonderful way to begin your day is to begin with some reflection, some time separate before you pick up your phone. After you go to the bathroom, before you meet the demands of the world, before you check the email, the phone messages, before you check social media, spending some time for yourself, gaining some leverage over your life and your day, taking back control that is yours by simple actions such as, again, before the world has a chance, before everything around you has a chance to determine what you're going to pay attention to and what your day is going to be about, spending some time every day reflecting, considering, imagining, like you were, if I have a window next to in the bedroom, next to the chair, next to the bed. And that's where I've lately been reading and journaling and thinking, and spending some time just watching out the window. Something impractical, something not serious, not white knuckling and controlling the world around us, but spending some time with yourself and your sense of spirit, your sense of God, your sense of something larger than you. Creating the space, your job in that moment, in those moments when we step outside of all of this, is to create the space for you to interact with that sense of spirit, that sense of something larger, and allowing yourself to begin to imagine again, to envision again what might be possible. Elevating the question, what might be possible, to one that is essential, one that is practical, one that is yours to answer. And by answer, I don't mean a once and for all solution, but this is an ongoing, ever evolving, ever exposing itself, developing itself within you as you move through your life. This isn't a one and done. This is an ongoing, all the time, beautiful experience where we can begin to get some richness back in our life, some richness back in our days, some reconnection with ourselves in a way that not only creates the space for you to breathe, but it creates the space for you to begin to connect again with what might be fulfilling to you, where you might find your purpose, where it may begin to reveal itself. But that's only going to happen when you spend some time, when you understand the importance of vision, when you elevate vision to something that is important to you, that you go against the mainstream, go against the masses, and rushing past something as silly as creating a vision and imagining a vision of what might be possible for you. So again, I look forward to this conversation each week. I look forward to hearing back from you and to continuing this and elevating this in a way that is practical and accessible. Possibility, practical and accessible for you and your life and those things and people and essential parts of your life. That's what this is about. That's why we're here. That's what this conversation is and will continue to be. You can reach me on all the socials, David Landis me, davidlandis.me. And I look forward to hearing from you. And I will talk to you next week. Here's to what might be possible. May you go out and play with possible this week. Bye-bye.